there's a big debate. Some people say design is more important than copy, and some people say copy is more important than design. I guess it depends on who you're talking to, whether it's a copywriter or a designer. But the copy, you could have amazing copy, but if you don't have it flowed out properly, and if you don't have enough white space, and if you don't have the buttons, the CTA buttons where you need them, and if you don't have, you're not providing an optimal user experience for the customer, they can't digest your copy the way that you meant for them to digest it. So that's why design has to work so cohesively with the copy in order for it to be as effective as possible.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, a podcast designed to encourage women to take their back of the napkin idea, launch it, and grow a wildly successful business. I founded We Wild Women, an entrepreneur training company, to help women like you, moms and go-getters, start the business of their dreams the right way. Not too long ago, I launched my $1 million agency when I was 8 months pregnant with my first son and welcomed my second son only 11 months later. So I know how to grow businesses and babies. Join me as I teach you the guiding principles and how to start and grow your business while overcoming the voice in your head screaming, "It's not possible." These raw and funny episodes will make you feel like you're right here with me, sipping on some Pinot and leaving more confident saying, "Yes, I can." Every episode leaves you with some action items and a real kick in the ass to get started. Here on Into the Wild, you'll hear from other trailblazing entrepreneurs and experts because I know that the best advice is from someone who's successfully done it before. So put your headphones on, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in because Into the Wild is about to begin.
Subscribe to my mom's podcast.
Hey, you wild women. My next guest is a copywriter and content strategist who founded her business, Christie Ellen Content Marketing, after completing breast cancer treatment in 2018. She realized after confronting a life-threatening illness head-on just how important it was for her to live a life with passion while fulfilling her true purpose, starting and growing her own business. She believes that copywriting is your most valuable skill as a business owner, and she's on a mission to help small business owners everywhere improve their copy by teaching the foundations of how to implement strategic copy that converts. She also just happens to be a content strategist and a copywriter, and she works with me at We Wild Women. So please help me welcome the incredible Christie Ellen.
Hello!
Come on down to The Price is Right.
I know, right? I'm so excited.
From coast to coast. I know.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're like a half day in the future. I always love that.
Am.
Yeah. And I always have to ask the question. So how's the future?
It's bright. It's bright.
It's good.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So let's kick things off with some quick questions. Are you ready?
I am.
First one. Where are you from?
I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick.
Woohoo!
Exactly where I currently am sitting.
Well, you're not actually in physically the jurisdiction of Moncton, though. You're just outside, close to the ocean.
That's it, yes. And I did move away for a bit. I did live in other parts of the country before settling back home here in Moncton.
Whereabouts?
So I lived in Halifax, I lived in Ontario, and I lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh, wow. At the time of this recording, it is Black History Month, and I'm learning a lot about Black history in Canada, which started in mostly Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. I didn't know this. Did you know this?
Mm-hmm. I did. I knew that there was a strong history in Nova Scotia, actually. Yeah. I did a bit of reading, but I didn't really know about New Brunswick, though. I did know that about
New Brunswick. Yeah, Nova Scotia. It's pretty cool. Well, welcome. Okay, so what is one of your favorite quotes?
One of my favorite quotes. So probably Glennon Doyle, "You can do hard things." That's one of my favorite ones and one that I come back to often. Mm-hmm. That one, and also Nike's "Just Do It," because I also come back to that one all the time. It gets me off my butt more times than I can count. You know what I mean? Like if you're hesitating on something, and if you're procrastinating, just do it.
It reminds
Whether
me
it's like,
of Mel Robbins' 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where it's like getting out of bed in the morning. You're like, oh, I could just like sleep in a little bit longer or scroll through Instagram. But you're like, nope, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hop out of bed. Just do it. Just do it.
Exactly. Right. Like, and it works for like the really big things in life that you're scared to do, but it also works for like the tiniest little thing on your to-do list that you've been avoiding forever. Like, just do it.
Yeah. Like the 1 minute task that has been sitting there forever. And it's like, why didn't you just take that minute to get it done?
Exactly.
There's one thing that I love, actually inspired by Mel Robbins. Sometimes now when I'm frustrated with like parenting or business, is I actually look in the mirror, looking at myself like I'm having a conversation with myself. And I just scream, Renee, you're real effing good. You can do this. I like put my hand like, you can do this. And I get so psyched up and I'm like, yeah. And I walk away.
Isn't she the one that does the high five in the mirror too? Like that's her.
High five. Yep. I don't high five myself. I actually look myself in the eye and I'm like, you can do this. Yeah. And then sometimes I do it. Sometimes I don't do it.
I should try that. I haven't gotten there yet, but let me try.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird looking at yourself. It's weird high-fiving yourself. But let me tell you, when you get into that habit, because if there's no one else around to like jack you up to get you going, it's like you have yourself. And so you have to be able to self-motivate. And so, yeah. Rah. Okay, so what is one of your best pieces of business advice you ever received?
That would have to be probably get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So the idea that entrepreneurship will always push you outside your comfort zone. So you always feel a little bit out of your depth. And I wasn't actually necessarily expecting that before I made the big leap by going into business for myself. But I've learned that entrepreneurship is largely a mindset game. So if you can master showing up every day, and being consistent with habits, and then also living with a certain amount of discomfort every day, then that's what it takes to succeed. So
true, huh?
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Like sharing your ideas with people, sharing your new program with people. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Showing up. I mean, I honestly, when I first started working with you, you're wonderful and amazing and you do all these incredible things. But then I really understood what it's like to put yourself out there every day with blog posts, with podcast recordings, with social media, with programs. And I mean, you're doing the hard thing every single day. And it's just because it's not easy to do those things at all. Not even close. You're constantly an exposed nerve, really.
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting that we look at it from that place of vulnerability when you get one bad comment followed by 50 amazing comments, but you still hook yourself to that one bad comment. And I'm getting better at this. But putting myself out there, like for me to launch my podcast took forever because I was like, oh, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Are they even going to listen? And I'm like, I don't know until I actually do it. And quite frankly, it's been an awesome ride, a great journey. Yeah.
If you think about the amount of people that you are having an effect on, and I mean, you're sharing your gifts and your knowledge and everything with so many people. And that's what it is to put yourself out there as an entrepreneur, right? Like if you don't do those things, you're doing a disservice, right? Because you're not sharing that with the world. So I don't know, exactly. But it is tough. It's super tough.
Yeah. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Totally.
Okay. So what's one of your biggest business mistakes?
Oh, this question I forgot to prepare for. My biggest business mistake, probably just trying to take on too much too fast, I think, and not delegating as quickly as I probably should have. So I recently just started to kind of outsource some of my work and get some contractors in to kind of help me out with the workload, which has been incredible. And it's freed up my time because I'm not spending all of my time doing the things that I don't want to be doing and that are preventing me from growth. So it's, I've recently just did that. And I just really wish I would have done it probably like 6 months ago because it's done wonders already.
Yes, delegation is key. The moment that you can make a wise financial decision to offload some of those tasks to somebody else allows you to get that space and capacity to work on the stuff you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. And also I was worried about like letting go of control is really hard too, right? Because you're worried about the work not being a certain level of quality because I don't know. Anyway, but it's just, you got to let go. You got to let go to grow.
Yep. 100%. Can't do it all.
Yeah. No, you can't. And not if you want to grow your business.
Yeah. And not only that, but not just growing your business, but actually having a life outside your business too. Because you need to have, it's like my husband says, it's a buyback principle where you can buy back your time by outsourcing, delegating, deleting tasks.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is a book that you can recommend? And I would love a recommendation about copywriting.
Oh, well, okay. So copywriting book is Persuasion. So it's Cialdini's The Psychology of Persuasion. So that one I'm currently reading, and it is incredible because it really does help give you sort of the techniques to understanding like what motivates people, what persuades them into decision-making and that kind of thing. It's very interesting. So for a copywriting book, I would say that one's probably like the gold standard. But in terms of other books, Atomic Habits was also, classic, but
I love that book.
So good.
So good. Yeah. I feel like James Clear is the only person that I really like subscribe to without wanting to unsubscribe.
Yeah, it's true. And I share so many of his social media posts and stuff all the time because they're just so good and so profound.
It's like he says what you think, but in such an articulate way. And you're like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on because I want to get to these copywriting tips that I know you have to share with us, of which I know some of them. So quick story is that Christie's, and we've been working together now for how long?
Year and a half, almost.
Yeah.
Year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a bit. And she's helped me with a lot of obviously content stuff, from writing emails to sales pages. And I never understood the importance of copywriting in business until I've worked with people like you. Because I think I did a great job at writing an email or a sales page. And then someone like you comes in and says, I can do better. And that's what I love about working with you is having been now together for that long, year and a half, is you understand my voice, you understand my target audience, and you understand how to connect with that. So bridge the gap between the goofy Renee and the people that want to hear from me, which is an art.
Yes, and it definitely is an art. And also, you're a good writer. So you make my job easy in that, I take your foundations and I just kind of build on it with the copywriting skills and stuff that I have. But I mean, foundationally, you're a good writer.
That's good. And you're fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And you make me sound good. So that's good. Okay. I want to know what inspired you to start your company?
Well, so I was working in corporate world for a handful of years prior to going out on my own. I went back to school late in life for marketing. So I only found marketing in my early 30s. So I was working at an agency and then I went corporate. And then I decided that actually what happened was I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I took some time off for a year to get treatment and that kind of thing. And whenever you are confronted with that kind of an illness, it forces you to kind of rethink about your goals and what it is that you want to do with this one life that you've been given. And so I decided that I wanted to make a leap. So I did. And I side hustled for a little bit. And then I decided to go full time, all in. So
you did. Just jumped right in.
I did. I just did it.
How does that feel going from, I know the companies that you've worked with historically, which have like a decent reputation in terms of what they do, but also your roles there were kind of cool. So how did that feel going from that to doing your own thing?
Scary in terms of just going from corporate to entrepreneurship is scary because, you're jumping and there's not a safety net of benefits and like a secure paycheck and that kind of thing. But also it was super liberating in knowing that I was the one that was in full control of the decisions that I was making. And I wasn't making decisions on behalf of another company. And maybe it wasn't even my own values that I was making those decisions based on. It was based on somebody else's values and somebody else's things. And I didn't love that. I didn't love that I was operating under somebody else's
rules.
Rules. Exactly. 100%. Honestly, let's be real, rules. And also I really, really suck at office politics. Like I am very bad at office politics. And so
how so? Tell me something juicy.
I've learned this about myself, and I guess I was made to believe it was a weakness at one point, but I think it's a strength now, is that I can't BS very well. I don't BS well. I feel my feelings very deeply. I'm a passionate person, and oftentimes that comes through. And so when the situation calls for potentially hiding feelings or even acting against what I'm feeling at my core, because the situation dictates that I need to, because I'm working on behalf of somebody else's values and somebody else's company, I'm not good at it. I don't do inauthenticity well at all.
Right. So it depletes you then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
in a similar vein, I think I had a corporate job for like 2 years out of university, downtown Toronto. And the people I worked for were great. But I knew that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, not necessarily for those same reasons, but knowing my value and having to ask for a raise and only getting a certain % increase annually because of that's their standard in the business. I'm going in at like $40,000 a year, living in Toronto. I can barely pay rent at that point. It was ridiculous. And then asking for a $10,000 raise and then being pulled back down to a $4,000 raise. I'm like, it was just crazy.
I know. And then especially like if you happen to be working for somebody who maybe isn't a great boss, like that's tough too. Because I remember one time having a conversation about an increase in pay based on what I brought to the table and that kind of thing. And I was told that you could go out on the street and hire a monkey to do my job. And that was the moment. Really, I was like, wow, okay.
People say that.
Yeah, he said I could go out and hire and have somebody trained to do your job in 2 months.
You're and like, basically, okay, you're like, good. Then you're gonna have to go and do that because I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. It's crazy. Oh, I know the stuff that, especially as a woman, I find the things we've been told. Right, like I don't deserve a $10,000 raise, even though I know I brought in so much revenue for them. It's just like, this isn't cool. And I tried to, it wasn't just a one ask, it was over and over and over again to the point of annoyance. And then I finally said, I'm out of here.
I mean, it's depleting and it's terrible.
Well, okay, so let's get to this copywriting stuff. So I love that. We know that she's a badass. So if there's anyone listening that wants to leave their 9 to 5, Christie's your girl, talk about it. Don't upset her. Okay, so let's talk about copywriting though. What is it exactly? So what is copywriting and why is this important for small businesses?
There are different kinds of copywriting for your business. So you can write copy, so for blog posts or infographics or case studies, or there's TV, radio scripts, like that kind of thing. Any sort of writing that has to do with marketing your business and putting your business out into the world. But then there's conversion copywriting. So which is writing copy for assets in your business that require your reader to take an immediate action. And it incorporates a specific process that uses things like voice of customer research, wireframing, testing, optimization, that kind of thing.
So is that like a sales page kind of thing?
Yeah. So those types of assets would be like emails, social media ads, sales pages, landing pages. If you are writing something and putting it out into the world where you want somebody to take an immediate action once they've read what you wrote, that is conversion copy. But there's at its core, there's other things that are involved in it, but that is conversion copy versus other copywriting, because anything you write for business is copywriting for your business. But I like to focus on the conversion copy side of things.
Right. I've learned so much from you, especially in the last year and a half, but especially in the last couple of weeks when we're really diving deep on my program that I'm launching called The Wild Collective, and understanding how I kept saying, oh, there's too much copy in this. And Christie is like, no, this is why, like, this is what you need and why you need all this copy. Because I'm like, it goes on and on and on forever. I'm like, just get to the point. People want to buy. But no, they need to also know the story. They need to know what's included, how I'm connecting as the owner to these potential customers, and having those customers, whether they know me or not, know more about me so that they're like, oh, Renee gets it. Or Renee's like been through this before and she's an expert in X, Y, and Z, so that they're comfortable in purchasing from me, right? They're trusting in me. They know me and they like me.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the foundations of conversion copywriting, and one of the things that I've been trying to help you with, is that you have to understand you're taking people from one state of awareness into another state of awareness. So there's a psychological journey that is happening and that you have to take your potential customer through with the copy. So when they are introduced to you, when they're reading certain things, they're starting off in one frame of mind, but it's up to your copy to help move them through a decision-making process. And whatever that decision-making process is, maybe that decision-making process is, Renee, is not for me. This whatever is not for me. But I mean, ultimately, the idea is that we want to attract customers. We want them to convert.
But that's a good point too. And that's where, like, when I coach women and they're like, I ask them what their target market is, they're like, go with everybody. We're so afraid to be so specific with what we offer and who we are that people aren't going to buy from us. But that's just as much as a gift as people who do buy. And especially if you're like in a service-based business, really any business, because you don't want people returning the product or, returning whatever it is because they don't like it, or they don't want people asking for a refund because I've convinced them so much to work with me, even though they didn't want to. They end up buying and all of a sudden they want a refund, right? So it's easier to have the copy attract the right person than it is to like always be handing out refunds.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And in order for people to make those important decisions, they need a lot of information and they need to see a lot of things. There's a lot of check boxes that they need to go through in their minds. And, so that's why copy is so important and valuable, because you need to be able to help somebody get from point A to point B, right? In that decision-making process.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And so I think of like, copywriters are not, I don't want to say cheap. They're not cheap. I've worked with many in my life. And luckily, I've done a really good job at selecting them. And I'm not just saying this because we're chatting. But at the end of the day, it ends up being quite an investment. That being said, if you're just starting out or you're in the first couple years of business and your revenue isn't exactly where you want it to be, how do people really get started on this? Like, do they outsource or do they learn it themselves? Like, how can they be more comfortable with this?
So you could do one or both. You can learn how to do it on your own. So basically, you don't have to be, a lot of people probably think that you have to have some writing talent or some creative talent in order to write effective copy. But that's not true. You can learn a few basic copywriting techniques that, when you implement them, are going to elevate your copy significantly. And you can go super deep on that, or you can just incorporate a few of the basic tips. But there's a ton of places that you can learn sort of the foundations of how to write copy on your own.
Who's a good person to follow, other than you, of course, online?
Well, if it's conversion copy specifically, Copy Hackers is incredible. Joanna Weeb, she's unreal in terms of learning. And there's a lot of free resources too on the Copy Hackers website that she dives deep into all the blog posts. And podcasts are actually also a really great way to learn just some basics, some copywriting basics. But I love Copy Hackers and the conversion copy style, just because it teaches you some of the foundational techniques that are really just going to help elevate your copy and take it from
A to Z to the moon and back again.
A to Z. Yeah. And the other thing too is that, you asked me why it's so important, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but without strong messaging, you run the risk of either not retaining the customers that you've already brought in or not being able to attract new customers. And you don't have time in your business for sloppy copy, because attention spans, if you think about the attention spans of people are non-existent, the market is flooded, and you have extremely limited time and digital real estate in order to be able to get people into your sphere of influence, right? So if you aren't incorporating solid copywriting techniques so that your copy is as effective as and efficient with your messaging as possible, you're leaving money on the table.
Mm-hmm. I totally get it.
Right? I mean, that's why it's important as a business owner to make sure that your copy is, because otherwise you're putting so much work and time and effort into something that is not going to do the heavy lifting that you need it to do.
I have something new and exciting to share. Something that I've been working on for years. Having personally coached hundreds of female entrepreneurs on all things launching and growing a dream business, I knew that these women, much like you, needed more. Something special, inclusive, and worthwhile. A place to go to have meaningful business discussions, ask questions, gain access to expert advice, and connect with amazing people. It's called The Wild Collective, and it's open now for you to join. When you join The Wild Collective, you'll get access to a trusted and uplifting community, game-changing training and content, world-class expert sessions, business secrets from the experts themselves, templates and tools to help you skip the messy middle and go straight to building a wildly successful business. The results are already coming in. Ali Monroe of Care Dental explains, "The Wild Collective has helped me achieve my business goals and work the right tasks into my schedule on a consistent weekly basis. And I get held accountable to a group of amazing entrepreneurs who ensure I'm executing on all the small goals that it takes to achieve the big ones." Hannah Hain explains that The Wild Collective is an amazing community. What I love the most about it is the connection with other incredible women in business, celebrating wins, sharing tips, and offering support and lifting each other up. It's this community environment that makes me want to stay accountable to my business goals on days that it feels hard to. Everyone wants you to succeed, and you can really, truly feel it. See, I've always dreamed of making my coaching practice more accessible to women who are launching and growing their dream business. And this is why I started The Wild Collective. The best part is that it's open right now for you to join today. So head on over to wewildwomen.com/membership. That's www.wewildwomen.com/membership to join for just $99 a month on an annual basis. So go ahead, click on it, and I can't wait to see you there. You always start with copy first. And Chris and I are just going through this now with one of my sales pages, essentially, is the framework was there. I put in kind of the design, and then Christie came in and revamped it, like va-va-voom, added 2x the copy. And then I just simply went in and like plunked it in, and it worked out. It worked out, and the sections were great. But, you know, in hindsight, we could have just started with a copy first, and then design will come after. And it's important too. And like, it's as simple as opening up a Google Doc and just starting to write, just write, and just edit the crap out of it later.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's one of the things that I try to tell people whenever I'm talking to them about writing copy. Like, if you try to go from copy in your head to getting it perfect on paper the first time, it's impossible. You're not going to do that. The best advice that I have is just start writing. Just brain dump in a Google Doc and get it all out. And then you can go in, and I go back through my copy. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Yeah. And to format it. And the other thing too, what you're saying about design and copy, people sometimes don't understand the relationship that copy has to the design. Like, the design is important, just as important as the copy, because you can have, there's a big debate. Some people say design is more important than copy, and some people say copy is more important than design. I guess it depends on who you're talking to, whether it's copywriter or designer. But the copy, you could have amazing copy, but if you don't have it flowed out properly, and if you don't have enough white space, and if you don't have the buttons, the CTA buttons where you need them, and if you don't have, you're not providing an optimal user experience for the customer, they can't digest your copy the way that you meant for them to digest it. So that's why design has to work so cohesively with the copy in order for it to be as effective as possible.
Like a hand in the glove.
Right? Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about these 5 copywriting tips that you know so well for small business owners.
5. Well, there's so many more.
Well, the 5 to start with.
5 to, yeah, let's talk about just 5. So the 5 key ones that I would say, the first one would be incorporating voice of customer data into your copy. So voice of customer data is part of the conversion copy process. So what it is it involves mining for like literally voice of customer. So whatever your ideal customer is saying about their pain points, about their desired outcomes, you want to make sure that you're going deep into learning as much as you can and grabbing that exact thing that they're saying and using that in your copy. So, and you do that for 2 reasons, because it allows you to go deep in the mindset of your ideal customer. It uncovers their challenges, pain points, and again, desired outcomes. But it also helps you communicate empathy in your copy, and it's going to help inform your copy, because what you might think are some of their biggest challenges might not actually be what's happening in their minds. So it's important to be able to get into and see exactly what it is that your ideal customer is talking about and what they want and what problems they're trying to overcome, because then you can take that information and use it in your copy, and you can reflect it back to them in your sales page or in your email or in your social media ad. And it helps sort of communicate that empathy in that I know what you're going through. And then it also helps inform your actual copy, because like I said, what you might think that A, B, C is their main problem and what they need, but when really it's X, Y, Z. Yeah.
So where do people find this voice of customer?
So there's different places that you can go depending on, what it is that you're trying to find. But I have the best luck in Facebook groups and also on Amazon. You can review mining on Amazon because people will leave the reviews, right? So for example, if you're trying to write about, I don't know,
marketing
or whatever, you go and you look for books and reviews of the books, right? So, and sometimes people will write, I wanted this book to give me this, but it didn't, or this is the problem that I was trying to solve, but it didn't do that. Or, I wish it would have gone more into this, or I liked this book because it explained blah, 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 blah. So then you kind of get little hints and tips and tricks. Reddit is also really good, and Quora and answerthepublic.com is really good. Any place where you are getting unfiltered, straight out of your customer's mouth information about what it is that they're actually trying to solve, that's the best place to go.
And I have another one too, is your competitors' sites for customer reviews.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's another tip?
Another tip is, so I call it ditch the fire hose messaging. So essentially, business owners get really excited about their products and their services, and they oftentimes will try to communicate too much information, and they'll have too many CTAs, calls to action, in whatever it is that they're doing, whether it's an email or on the website. And they also try to speak to everybody all at once. So you end up overwhelming your ideal customer, and then they end up not doing anything. So you need to write for your one reader, your ideal customer, and keep your messaging focused and streamlined, because then you increase the chances of your customer actually taking the action that you want them to take, right? Because we want them to take a specific action. And if you're saying, well, there's this and this and this and do this and do this and do this, then there's too much choice. And then they're like, ooh, I don't know what you want me to do. And they
focus.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So keep it to one message, focus on your one reader, and that's the best way to go about that. So no fire hose messaging.
Right. And I think that also comes with practice as well. You think about your target market, because like I said earlier, when I coach women, they're like, I don't know, my target market's everybody. The problem with that is you can't do the copywriting, because it's a 65-year-old dude and it's a 12-year-old girl. No, those are very different people. And so I'm reading the book now called Deep Work by Cal. Oh my gosh, what's his last name? And I'm like, I don't know, only like a few chapters in, but it talks about doing the deep work. This is the stuff that helps move the needle in your business, and having absolutely no distraction. So turning off email, turning off social, everything. It's like some people that can do deep work actually have computers that have no internet connection. And they just go and they write. Who is it? One of the world's best directors too. He says this in the book, has directed, I don't even know. I need more coffee. Anyways, I guess he wrote all of these scripts for these movies without having any internet connection, and he uses an old typewriter.
Wow.
So you think about doing that and understanding the core message for that one customer is kind of like when you go to those sales pages and you're reading it and you're like, oh my gosh, she's talking to me. How does she know I think this way? How does she know I feel this way? That's good copy.
100%. And that's what I mean by being able to communicate that empathy and get inside the head of your ideal client using that voice of customer research, because that is the reaction that you want your ideal client to have. And you also want your ideal client. The other thing too is that by using you-focused language. So whenever you are writing, write to one person. Don't write to a crowd of people. You're not talking to, like, your person is consuming that content as they're in the room by themselves or they're on their phone or whatever. Like, it's one person, right? So talk to them like you're having a conversation, a one-on-one conversation. You're not talking to a group of people. It's less personal that way. You want it to be as personal as possible. So
yeah. I mean, and like people are in it for them. They don't care about you. They want to know how you are helping me essentially solve a problem or get the thing or save time, save money. So that's so perfect when you say it's not about a bunch of people, it's about one person.
Exactly. My next tip number 3, is cute doesn't convert. So I find this with a lot of business owners who are trying to come up with, they think that they need to be super clever and flowery and come up with all these like super creative ways to say it, what it is that they do. And you don't have to be super clever and creative. It's more important to be clear and focused in your copy, right? So, and if you remember that your customer is time-starved and they're not going to take the extra time to decode all of your flowery, mysterious, potentially mysterious, like copy. They're on your website or your landing page because they're trying to find a solution to a problem and they have literally milliseconds. So you don't want to waste your one opportunity, right, at actually communicating that message with all this flowery, whatever language. Just be clear. Be clear. Say what it is that you do.
And on top of that, from an SEO perspective, I'm just thinking about like even like pricing packages, because I remember when I had my PR agency, we came up with these clever package names for doing PR and content marketing and social and SEO. And it didn't make any sense. Like our customer was a funded technology startup founder who had zero time in their day. They didn't care about the cute stuff. They wanted to know, what am I getting? And from a search perspective, it's like that comes up in search too. I think there's a time to be cute and clever. You're right. And maybe it's for like Reels or TikTok, but not when it comes to your copy. I love that one.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have two more tips if we're counting. So tip number four is to remember to write benefit-driven copy. So it's not about you. So when you are reviewing and editing your copy, ask yourself, why is my customer going to care about this? So every single word, and I cannot stress this enough, needs to earn its place in your copy. You know what I mean? Like your copy needs to, every single word. And you need to get to the point fast. And you need to be focused on the benefits you offer to your customer. So if you spend too much time blabbering on about yourself too early in your copy, or you're too focused on the features of your product or service, not the transformation or benefits or solutions of your product or service, you're going to lose your customer. So your prospective customers, again, don't have time to siphon through the BS copy, right? Like you need to communicate the benefits early and they need to be crystal freaking clear or they're just going to leave. So
bye-bye.
Yeah. And the best time to do that for me is I do that like towards the mid to end process of whenever I'm reviewing copy is like, I put it through that filter of like, why is my customer going to care about this? Why? Like every sentence, why does this matter? Am I getting to the point fast enough? That's it for that one. And one more tip for that.
Yeah. What's that last tip?
You ready?
Hit me with it, baby.
Okay. Testing. Testing is so key to improving your copy. So it's important to not treat your copy as just like set it and forget it. You should always try to be testing your messaging and seeing what's working so that you can get better at actually writing. As a copywriter, as a business owner, get better by understanding what is working, but also understand what copy is motivating and converting your customers. So what they're responding to. So often, at least when I'm writing copy, I always have hypotheses about what copy we feel is going to work best for different things. So whether it's headlines or subject lines, social media ads, that kind of thing. But it's important to test those hypotheses in real time, because when you first put something out into the universe, it's just that, it's a hypothesis. So you don't know for sure whether or not that's the best copy that's going to get your audience to convert. So it's important to test and always make tweaks to be constantly improving.
Yeah. You just spent all this time creating this messaging and doing the voice of customer research. And then all of a sudden you're telling us that we need to be tweaking this?
Well, oftentimes it's just about, you can't tweak too much because then you don't have a control, right? So you don't understand what it is that you're actually optimizing. So you can start with just some basic A/B testing of things like your subject lines or social media ads or, your CTA buttons on your website. You have to test properly in order to understand exactly what factors are motivating the clicks or not getting the clicks too. That's the other thing too. You have to find out where people are dropping off on your website and that kind of thing. But it's important to do it in a very controlled way. Otherwise, if you change 5 things on your website and then test it, you don't know what it is that's making the difference.
No, it's
right?
it's like people that want to lose weight, for example, right? They just do 5 things at once and they're losing the weight. This is great, but they don't know what's the big thing that's helping them. Yeah, it probably all works in unison, but that's just an example. It's true when it comes to testing. And I feel it's like equivalent to the elimination diet. When you try to figure out what foods you might be allergic to or have a sensitivity to, is you don't get rid of everything. Sometimes it's just a matter of like getting rid of gluten and then reintroducing gluten, getting rid of dairy, then reintroducing it. Because that's the best way to really know if you have that allergic reaction. So the best way to test your copy is to just do it little by little.
Exactly. 100%.
Any more tips?
That was that was it. I had 5. And I had prepared a bonus tip, but we already covered it. So I got it in there.
What was the bonus tip?
The bonus tip was about design and copy working really well together. Okay. But we already talked with that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I have one last question for you.
Yes.
When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Being a wild woman is a woman who doesn't let her fears stop her from doing hard things. So whether that's pursuing the biggest dreams or maybe it's just doing something that really scares you, whatever it is, it's about having the courage to feel the fear and doing the big, scary thing anyway.
Ooh, okay. So I think maybe I'll need to take some big, scary action and go and find Christie online. So where can people hear more about you?
My website is christieellen.com, or I'm on Instagram at christie.ellen.content. Or I'm on LinkedIn at Christie Ellen.
Cool. And we'll put those in the show notes.
Yes, we will.
Well, Christie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Ditto. That's great coffee, by the way. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.